Hi everybody, this is Darren Slaughter with DarrenSlaughter.com, and today I have a website review for the traditionalpainter.com. Now this is Andy Crichton's site over in the UK, and Andy does traditional decorating services, furniture decorating, custom cabinetry decorating, things like that over in the UK. And he asked me to do a review of his site, and that's what we're going to get into today, and he's allowed me to share some of the findings with you to help improve your website. So we're going to jump right in, and before I get started with anything on his site, we're going to take on the pages in particular, we're going to take a look at some of the other things that are just as important to site performance as the site itself. So we're going to get started with that in 1 second. Okay, as you may have heard me say in the past, one of the things that the search engines use as a confidence factor when serving results for your website or a competitor's website is how long the site itself is registered for. So I'm going to go in here and see how long Andy has this website registered for. So we know that he got the site in July of 2009, and he's made some updates last summer, and it looks like the site is set to expire in July of this year. So Andy, one of the things you want to make sure that you get done right away is you get over to your registrar, whoever that happens to be. Let's see if it has it up here. Now, whoever your registrar happens to be, and get the site registered for at least 3 years, but more favorably anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Again, what that does is that's a confidence factor for the website or for the search engines to serve up your site. All things being equal, if your content is the same as somebody else's content, but your site is set to expire in a couple of months and their site is set to expire in a couple of years, some people say that there's a confidence factor in having a site that's registered longer. It means you're going to be around a little bit longer, so there's a little more confidence that the search engines put in your site over your competition. So make sure you get that knocked out, and you should be good to go there. So let's go take a look at the page source and see how Andy has that set up. Okay, here we are on the page source of Andy's website homepage, and one of the things that stands out right away is that normally this is a cascading list of information that you would have on the page source, but it seems like it is laid out horizontally. It looks like the information is there, it just looks like it's laid out a little bit different, and maybe that's just the way that that Andy's site designer decided to do it. But what I'm interested in is the keywords that we have that we're using. So here you see over here we have the meta keywords. So let's see what we're using here to show to the search engines what this site is about. So I'm going to scroll to the edge and I'm going to stop. So first keyword is Faro and Ball. Next keyword is painted kitchen, hand painted, painted wood furniture, painted chairs, painting kitchen cabinets, interior decorating. Okay, I'm not familiar with Faro and Ball is, so I don't necessarily have an opinion on that. Painted kitchen is obviously a good one, considering that's one of Andy's primary job functions. Hand painted, I'm not sure if that is hitting home in as far as getting to, that could be hand painted anything. That could be hand painted cabinets, that could be hand painted furniture, that could be hand-painted teacups. So you maybe want to either remove the hand-painted or add an additional keyword like you have here, painted wood furniture or painted chairs or painted kitchen cabinets. There's no point to ranking for hand-painted when you don't really have another descriptor as to what that is. The rest of these I do like: painted wood furniture, painted chairs, painted kitchen cabinets, interior decorating. I know there's some components to that on your website, having looked at the site a little bit, which I'll address in a minute, but let's take a look at some of the other keywords Andy has here on the site. So we're going to scroll over, get interior decorating out of the way, and again we have interior design, color advice, little green paint, deluxe, classic wooden boats, traditional paint, and spray painting. Now, I'm not sure, and I'll get a better idea as we dig through some of the rest of the site, if these are helping you or kind of just confusing the search engines as to what your site does and what they should be serving results for. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. I'm going to see if you have a meta description here now. Okay, doesn't look like there's a meta description on the page source. And what the meta description is going to do, Andy, is it's going to show actual users, readers, what your site is about. And it's going to be kind of, let's say, it's going to be a headline that you get to use to sell people on clicking into your site. And I'll show you a meta description in 1 second. Okay, so Andy, to give you a good idea on a solid meta description, I went to Google and typed in painted kitchen cabinets, and I got my results. And my first organic result is Pro Secrets for Painting Kitchen Cabinets. It's an article from This Old House. But as you can see in here, this information here, if your kitchen cabinets are solid but dark, dated and dark, a fresh coat of paint can go a long way towards transforming the space without draining your bank. And then if you click into it, you can see the rest of the article. So one of the things we may want to do is consider getting a meta description in there so that people have a good idea of what you are getting or what they're going to get if they click through to the site. Okay, so here we go back to your site. All right, so here we are back at Andy's homepage. And from the very beginning, I like the use of the color scheme. Nice color scheme. I like the layout for the most part. Nice and simple layout. This looks like it is a citation, the City and Guilds of London Institute. And it looks like it's a citation that Andy uses to show that he's completed some schooling to better himself at doing what he does. The only problem right off the bat that I see is I'm viewing this on I guess a 26-inch monitor, and I can't read it. I can't read what it says, and if I click through to it, it takes me back to this page, to the home page, which is fine. But one of the things I would do is I would make that logo bigger, unless it's a little more common or known in the UK, and people would recognize maybe just the symbol, but I can't notice it, or I can't see it that well. Let's go over here and to the right, and what I do, my approach is just a top-down approach. I start at the home page, we drill through into the specific pages, and give you some ideas and tips on some things I would do to change the site overall. So we have, obviously, this is built on a WordPress platform. We have an RSS feed. We have updates, which is a nice tool. Let's click through that and see where it takes us. Okay, that's for our email subscription, which is great. Builds a little list. This takes us to a Posterius page and Twitter. And I think while I'm here, I'm going to go over here and okay. There is his Twitter page. All right, so back to the home page, and right off the bat, we get a nice little welcome message. Specialist craftsman in Cheshire offering full interior decorating service to homeowners and trade. Nice little USP, or a nice little value proposition there, what you do. Painting kitchens, the whole houses, wallpapering, Farrow and Ball, little green traditional paint, deluxe. Okay, so that must be a little more specific to the UK. But overall, I like the content here. The home page overall, this obviously takes us into different aspects of the site. So let's dive right in. I'll say this. What I would like to see, first and foremost, is a little more information about the company, maybe about yourself, Andy, maybe a little bit more about your background. You have all of these links in the sidebar, so it's a bit, let me just make sure you have those in the sidebar. Yeah, these are all pretty much here, over here. So it's kind of like a pants and suspenders setup. I would pick one of the other, go with that, and then build in some nice content that I know that you have on the rest of the page here, or on the rest of the site, talking about your business and your features and how your features benefit the reader. But let's dive into the hand-painted kitchens and see where we go from there. Okay, taking a quick look here at Andy's hand-painted kitchens section on his site. Andy has some fantastic content on the page. He's saying all the right things from a keyword standpoint. It's not too keyword stuffy. It says everything that you need to say to make the reader understand what he does, as well as give the search engines enough that they know what the page is about and should serve it up properly over time. And it looks like these are some click and hides that Andy has set up here. To, if you click into it, it gives you a little more information. Here Andy's talking about how he doesn't use water-based paint on woodwork. And I guess the Faro and Ball is a specific manufacturer, and hopefully, Andy, they're giving you a little something for recognizing them on your website. But overall, great content in that top section. Really kind of go into detail on how you're going to make my kitchen look beautiful. And he gives some great examples down here. You click the picture, it blows up into a nice big picture that I can see. Gives me the ability to scroll to the next picture. The next picture, nice. It's a nice kitchen. Pretty funky colors there too. All right. Okay. Nice range. Okay, so we get the idea. We scroll down. There's even more information. He's kind of already telling people how much they should expect to pay. It's a great way of doing it. He's not saying, "Hey, listen, these are my charges." But you know, this is what you should kind of expect to pay if you really want the job done right. And that's great content right there, Andy. Good job there. And he kind of qualifies his pricing by saying, listen, this is what I'm going to do to make sure that I don't tear apart your house. And he's going to now tell me, he's told me here what he's going to do to protect my house. And now he tells me the materials, how good the materials are that he uses. Right? Yeah, okay. That's great stuff, Andy. You've got no issues with that. All right, this was what to expect when I hand paint your house. Now he's even going to go into detail and tell me what's going to happen. How long is my kitchen going to be unusable for? How many nights am I going to have to take out? Or however you say it in the UK, where you go out to eat or bring food home. But he does a one better on the dust sheets to make sure that the rest of my house doesn't get dirty. How he's going to prepare the work, how he's going to clean up, and even what the customer should do after he's done. And he even throws them a bone by showing them what they should do if they want to do it themselves. And this takes you out to his Posterius page where he shows them. Tell you what, Andy, by now, this is a great job, because by now, if I'm looking at all this, I'm just calling you, because I already know that I'm going to destroy my kitchen. So before I go through the process and destroy it, I'm just going to call you and do it, and let you come out and do it yourself. So good job there. that's a nice little feature that some people will do, some contractors will do, knowing full well that the homeowner, if you can convince the homeowner that the job is beyond their scope, then you've got a much better chance of getting the job, simply because it's just something they're not going to get to. You got a nice use of social media tools at the bottom of the page. And two of the most important ones that you often don't see are print, the ability to print, and the ability to email. And I say you don't normally see them because most sites will just have the traditional Facebook and Twitter. This one also has the Google Buzz and the StumbleUpon. But the example here is if I'm sitting at work and I'm daydreaming about getting my kitchen redone, I want to be able to email that maybe to my spouse, or maybe print out the article so that I can take it home with me. So Andy gives some nice features here to allow me to take his content away from the site and consume it as I wish. So that's great. And I'm waiting for this to load down here. And let me refresh the page again, and hopefully this will reload, because Andy, this is one area that I would like to address with you. And that is, you know what, now it's not gonna load it all for us. It's gonna be stubborn here. So let's see if we can get this to refresh here. And the reason I'm sticking to this page is Andy's got some great pictures that he's uploaded through Twitter to YFrog. But I think, Andy, you would get better use. Two things. One, if you move these pictures up here into the sidebar so that you had them somewhat more closer to above the fold, and that you maybe use them on say a Flickr account, or maybe even YFrog. But I would use Flickr because Flickr, it could be your own page. You could have a Flickr sidebar widget in here showing your pictures on the site, as opposed to taking me off of the site. And if YFrog was cooperating here, I would be able to show you a little easier. If you click one of these pictures that appear here, it takes you off of the page entirely. So I would think about putting it in the sidebar. So that's just one suggestion. So next we're going to go into the interior painting section of the site. Okay, here we are on the interior painting and decorating page of Andy's site. And the first couple paragraphs are Andy talking about his professional decorator training and some of the details about what he does to prep, which is always good to let people know. And it looks like we go into some detail about what Andy does to make sure he doesn't damage your home. And here we are on the protecting carpets and furniture from paint and dust. Listen, one of the things you could do is you always make people feel good about the fact that their house is going to be cared for while you're working, and that there's going to be limited recovery time after you leave. So he goes into great detail what he's going to do to protect the floors, carpets, curtains, furniture. What else? Even tells you what the flat rate charge is going to be if you need to move furniture around, and no contractor should have to include furniture removal and replacement for free. And actually $20 is pretty cheap. If there's one thing I could make a argument about here, Andy, is as opposed to seeing the traditional WordPress message, would be to include, and I think this is going to run pretty standard across the site, so I'm going to make this one point here that you can use to address all of the pages on the site, and that is, when you get to the very end of all this great content that you have on the site, you want to give people the next step that you want them to perform. For example, we can scroll down here and obviously you have a contact form here, but it's not really a contact form. It's a leave a comment form. So people don't know what you want them to do. And I think it's great that you have the social media stuff here, and you kind of have it again down here as part of your bio. What I'd like to see in here is, instead of your bio, would be a contact page. You know, if you'd like to have us come in and give you a estimate on what it would take, you know, have some kind of contact form here. Maybe your phone number as well, in order for people, and then tell people what you want them to do. If you're ready to get started with your project, or you need a better idea of what the costs are to get started, send us an email, fill out the form, or call us. This is a more of a traditional WordPress layout, and that's fine, except the website's job is to convert readers into prospects, into leads, into clients or customers. So looking at it in that fashion, we need to make it convert better, and by giving people a direction that you want them to take at the end of each page, I think will help you do that. So let's go back in to the interior painting, and let's look through the rest of some of these sub pages that you have here. Keeping down the dust. More assurances that Andy isn't going to come in and tear apart my house is always a good thing. Now here you have it a little bit. Feel free to contact me if you have any painting or decorating projects that require this level of service, and that's good. I would just make it an actual form, and it could be a short form. You don't want to have a long form where you're asking for too much information. And I've looked at your contact form, and I think you do it right there. Just a name, email address, and information that you're requesting, maybe a phone number, is all you really need. The contact form's job is not to sell people. It's simply to gather information on the best way to reach them. So I would include that on this page as well. So let's see what we have here. So that heading was masking and dust sheets. And this is how Andy's going to go about making sure that my house isn't going to be covered in 3 inches of dust when he's done. And this one was keeping down the dust overall, brushes and brush keeper, and equipment snippets. This is all great stuff that is confidence factors in me saying, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing. He's obviously done it a lot of times, and I'm comfortable. So once I get to, once again, just to kind of go back and touch on this point, once I get to down here, then that's where the salesmanship has to kick in, and you got to start moving me into the sales funnel. Now that's great that you have these links here to get the word out, but this reader you want to become a customer or a client of yours. So give them the details here to do that. So let's go back to the interior decorating page, and keeping down the dust, we did the masking and sheet, the recent interior painting and decorating work in South Cheshire. Okay, and Andy's giving us a specific example of a job that he did, and it looks like there are 2, 3. Okay. Andy, all good stuff. The only thing I would suggest is, again, obviously I would care for all this and make this a way for your potential clients to contact you, as I've gone over. I would update some of these to newer jobs that you have done. I would keep one or two from 2009, but I would get some, 1 or 2 from 2010, and maybe if you have one from 2011 already, that would be great to get in there as well. Only just for no other reason than to keep it fresh and to keep it dated and to keep it up to what a reader's expectations would be. They would expect to see current information about what you're doing. So that's it for interior decorating jobs. I looked at this page already. This is one of my favorite pages on the site. How to gloss a front door. And it's a great page. One thing it shows me here, Andy, you spent 16 hours putting 6 coats of paint on a door. I mean, that's going above and beyond. And then you tell me how you did it. And I got to tell you, a lot of contractors shy away from getting into this type of DIY stuff. But I'll tell you, it makes it so much easier for somebody, especially like me, who is not very handy at all. I mean, I can paint, but I certainly would much rather spend 16 hours doing something else and invest in somebody else to spend those hours to make that door look like the shiniest door in town. But I think that's a great job. And I think, again, like I keep saying, I keep harping on it because I think that is a weak point, a weak spot to the site, is this contact information down here we need to get in place. I'd love to have maybe an about section. We have an about section which talks about you. Let's use this space here to talk about the client and how they can get in touch with you. So I promise that'll be the last time I bring that up. I think you get the point to that. And let's go ahead and take a look at another page. Decorating a damp affected wall. And you guys get a lot of rain over there, so I imagine there are plenty of damp walls. And here Andy just goes into the problems and the solutions and how he fixed it. Little inside baseball, couple of trade tricks, and looks like the pages blow up to nice big pages. So that's good stuff. Can't complain there. Nice big pictures. So I can see, look at that. You can see where he cares for the rest of the house before, or the rest of the things in the room before he gets down to work. And here's the very beginning, the before picture. Yeah, that looks like some serious water damage there. And that's the end, the beginning. Here's the end. The only thing I would say, Andy, is this, is if you're going to give me before and after pictures, try to give it to me from the same focal point, right? So I would love to see this picture after you finish the work. And, I'm looking at this and I can tell that that's it, but I've looked at this picture, 6 times, whether it's live on this video or before I shot it, and I get the layout, but just try and make all of these shots, like if you started here, like the best shot you would be able to have would be, say, this shot as your starter. So you have the first shot before all this starts, and obviously you can't go back and unwind time here and do this, but my point to this is take the same shot, beginning, middle, and end, to create the continuity and the flow through the picture set so that it's easier for the reader to understand exactly what you did. So, back to Holcomb Folly. Looks like it's a... Alright, this starts off, the biggest project I ever undertook was the redecoration of Holcomb Folly, Painswick Gloss in 1998. So here's another confidence factor here. It's very subtle. You don't step on it by highlighting it or anything like that, and it's great work. Anybody reading this far into your site can see you obviously do great work. You obviously know what you're doing, and now the confidence factor, knowing that you've been around, over 10 years, helps. Just takes another thing out of the consumer's head as to why they wouldn't hire you, and inserts another reason why they should hire you. So 8 weeks on the job. Yeah, that's great stuff here. No issues with this. Good content. And he even throws in an update. And he's even going to tell you that, you know, he's learned something in those 11 years and some things that he might do a little bit differently. So he's sharing his education with his readers and how that might help them in the jobs that he has them do. Great stuff. You know what I'm talking about here. So one thing I would do is I would, while getting comments on these pages is nice, I would probably turn the comments off too. Obviously just leave, you know, a way to contact here, but I would also turn the comments off, simply because they kind of distract from the end game, which is, and again, if the end game is that you want to drive more readers to become clients or customers, then yes, you absolutely want to turn off the commenting in order to keep people's attention focused to what their next step should be to reaching out to you. So let's take a look at the attention to detail page. Now this is a big one. Here Andy talks about hairline cracks and joints and things like that, and I live in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and I'm in a 100-year-old house that has plaster walls, and you can't take a step without a new crack in the plaster. And I've gotten, of all the things I could do, I've gotten pretty good at filling the cracks and repainting the cracks, but no matter what you do, they keep coming back. But here Andy talks about what he's going to do to make sure that he's going to address the cracks in your house. And I think it's really, here's some rants about the acrylic caulk scandal. Andy throws a little personal flavor, a little pizzazz in there, talking about what he would do or what he thinks about the situation, which is great. Kind of gives some personality to the site. Now here's one: control the thermostat. Keep the constant temperature. Interesting. That's one I've never heard and I haven't seen, so that's a great tip, and I appreciate it. And your readers will appreciate it, and it's just another confidence factor that they will use as a reason to hire you. So good job there. Now let's go back, and we're going to take a look at Victorian Townhouse, Philadelphia. Okay, here we are on the Victorian Townhouse, Philadelphia. It looks like Andy made a trip out to my neck of the woods, where he goes into great detail what he did to this house, gives some tips out and links out to some other areas, some other houses. So all good stuff here, great content. Gives his personal ideas and suggestions, which is great. Alright, all good stuff here. So let's go back to the home page. Okay, here we are on the hand-painted furniture page, and here is, I guess, where Andy talks about fixing up and refreshing older furniture, which I think is a great idea. So let's take a look at some of the bullet points that Andy addresses. Okay. Let me see if it... No, okay. And one of the things I think I would fix here would be to take me directly to the content. In other words, I've got to click attention to detail and then attention to detail again to get to the page that talks about the attention to detail. And here again, Andy just talks about what he does to prep and make sure that the house isn't going to be a wreck before, during, or after he's there. Pictures blow up into a nice full-size image again, so that's good stuff there. I would just address, yeah, it looks like it's going to do that through this whole setup. So if there's a way to fix that, I think I would, in order to avoid people having to get click fatigue throughout the site. Okay, nice, another big picture. Good job. All right, beautiful work. It's a great looking chair. All right, go back to the hand painted picture page. Features. Okay, there we are, features. Features opens up into the content we talk about. And here it looks like Andy's prepping. Good stuff. It's a nice desk. And, oh no. Looks like this picture doesn't expand or blow up, Andy, so you may want to fix that, because I'd love to see that picture of when it was done. Maybe we get a chance to do that down here. And for the do-it-yourselfers, looks like Andy's going to give you some tips and suggestions on how to do that yourself. Here you go, how to paint on pine. That's great tips right there. Andy, you should be running some classes over there, or running some seminars to help people learn how to do this stuff. Or maybe write a book and sell it on your site here. How much cleaning, how much sanding. This is all great do-it-yourself information here. How to handle knots in the wood. What kind of primer to use. Filler. These are some serious DIY tips that are great to be sharing with people who are looking for this information. Once again, though, I'm just going to say I would definitely throw a way for them to contact you outside of this. Again, I would take this out, because all this is going to be found in your About page. I would take all of this out too. I know you probably like it, but what it's not doing is it's typically not converting visitors into prospects. So let's go back to the furniture. And okay, how to hand paint furniture. Okay, we just did that. And that is hand finish versus spray. And I'm some good reasons and bad reasons why to do either. And shabby chic. It looks like a little trip that Andy took to the U.S. Shabby chic in New Jersey. All right, let's go back to the interior, or the hand-painted furniture section. I think that's going to do it here. I would take this off, to share this page. There's not really much to share. You know, a little torn with this. I mean, there's good information here, but for example, I have the same tips, I have the same sharing ability here, and here is kind of just the subheading section. So if you have a way to take this off, I think I would, as it really doesn't lend itself to doing anything, and I would replace it with, again, a contact page, contact form with phone numbers. All right, let's hit the interior design page. And here it looks like, Andy, you have a reciprocal relationship with an interior designer. With a young lady named Ingrid. I guess you guys work hand in hand, referring work back and forth to each other. I guess she provides some great information on interior design and color selection, which is good stuff. I imagine this is probably part of your business, and that's fine. It is, okay, this is contact Ingrid directly. So I guess it's an arm's length arrangement that you guys have, where you just refer work back and forth to each other. I'm not sure that, you know, I guess it depends on the relationship that you have. If there needs to be this much of a prominent placement for the interior design when it's not yours, on the site itself, I think it might be something we could put into, the useful info section. That's up to you. Looking at it as a consumer, and finding you for painted kitchens or interior painting or hand painted furniture, I would kind of, if there was a need for me to use an interior design, I would have probably found that already, or if it's come up in the course of our conversation, I would probably go and look for myself, but also ask if you have anyone in particular to use. So I'm not sure how this fits in with the overall business. I'm sure that you have a business reason for it, and maybe I just don't know about it. But as a consumer looking at this, it kind of fragments the site a little bit, and I would look to maybe move it around a little bit somewhere on the site and not give it as much of a prominent placement. But again, it depends on what it means to your business as a whole. But overall, it is still great content. It is still great information. So you certainly didn't skimp on that, or Ingrid didn't skimp on that. So that's good stuff there. Let's take a look at Farrow and Ball. I believe these are your paint suppliers, and it looks like you've given them quite a bit of column space here to talk about their product. You even compare it to some other manufacturers. So I hope they're giving you some co-op money to be talked about in such high regard here on your site. And you've obviously found yourself a good supplier, so and you don't mind sharing that with your readers, which is great. And again, it's another confidence factor. You're not hiding anything. It's all good information. So let's kick over to the useful information, I guess, subheading. And we're going to click into the refurbished kitchen options first. Okay. This has to be probably one of the best pages I've seen in a while. There's a lot of content here to consume, but basically what Andy is doing here, and he does such a fantastic job of it, is he is comparing apples to oranges. And what I mean by that is he starts off by talking about refurbishing a kitchen and what goes into refurbishing a kitchen and some of the front costs and some of the hidden costs in refurbishing a kitchen, and he ties it into how having him come in and painting the kitchen could actually save the consumer quite a bit of money. But he does it in such a non-salesy way that it continues to build trust throughout the content, which by the end, and he's done a great job of making his points against what it costs to refinish the kitchen or remodel the kitchen, that you almost have to call him. If there's one rub, Andy, that I have on this seems to be all you have here for contact. By the time somebody gets to the in conclusion, they are probably ready to pick up the phone and call you and do business with you. So, as I've said throughout the rest of the site, all this stuff needs to be reworked in order to make it more of a conversion opportunity versus just a continuation of the conversation from the article. So I love this page. I love everything you have on it. I love the fact that your pictures blow up and the other pictures don't. That's a great way to show off your work while minimizing the others. Actually, this comes out too, but so I think overall, great job with this page. The one thing I would do is I would probably try and tie it to the painted kitchens section, but I'll get into this whole nav, the whole navigation of your site in a little bit. I'm still going to kind of just walk through each page at a time. So we went through the refurbish the kitchen, and now we're going to take a look at the Ask the Expert. Okay, this page seems to be a great page of Andy just kind of giving back to his professional and public community. He's willing to answer questions from consumers who are in the middle of DIY projects and maybe in a bit of a jam. It's the ability for other painters to kind of get in and offer some tips and suggestions or some of their own case studies, things like that. So I think overall this is a great page. I think it's probably miscategorized, but we'll address that shortly. Let's step into the color cards page. And obviously the color cards are what you would expect to see with color cards. Just different types of colors to choose from. And he has a couple different companies, and he gives the ability for companies to submit their own. It looks like other specialist painting companies have the ability to submit their information. So once again, it's a little bit of a reciprocal trading between other contractors, which is always. Here's a link for Ingrid, the interior decorator. So all good stuff here on this page under the useful info. Avoid rogue contractors. Let's take a look at this page. All right. This page basically goes into some detail on what you should be wary of when you're looking to hire a contractor. And Andy even throws in a questionnaire that if you blow it up, you can see he asks specific questions that homeowners should use when looking to hire. You know, you could use this to hire, I guess, any tradesman. Doesn't have to necessarily just be a painting contractor. So that's good information for the homeowner. And then down here, he gives you what he does and how it ties into his company. And he gives you an overall heading and then how it fits into his business. So he's telling you what you should be looking for and telling you how his company works itself into another positive way of making a positive impression on the homeowner to want to have to hire him. So good stuff on the only thing I think I would do is this, Andy. I would swap these. In other words, I would bring all the good stuff about your company up, drop this form down below, down here, because you want this to kind of set in stone in your readers' minds what they need to be looking for. This checklist is great, but there's some real meat here that people need to think in the back of their minds as they are interviewing the wrong contractors, why they need to hire the right contractor. So I would look to maybe flip-flop that around. Other than that, I think it's fine. So let's take a look at the customer service page. Okay, here we are on the customer service page, and this is where Andy goes into great detail as to how he's going to service my account as my contractor. Prompt appointments. Starts from the beginning. That's where it goes from there. It's all about how you treat the customer from the very beginning. So he goes into detail about why it's important to get back to people and when he starts, and he doesn't take on more than one job at a time. No obligation quotes. Color advice. There's a little added benefit to using Andy. No nasty surprises with the bill. People obviously don't want that. Andy, I got to tell you, this is some great content that you go into. And any people taking the time to read this have to absolutely be impressed with what you do to convince them that you're the right person for the job. High standard. You even reference complaints. Listen, if you work with enough people, you're certainly going to make somebody upset no matter how hard you try, and you address that, and I think that's fantastic. And here you have, if you have any painting or decorating job you'd like us to discuss, or you have any other questions, please contact us. So this is the first time I've seen a phone number on the page with a contact form, so that's kind of what I'd love to see through the rest of the site, as I've mentioned probably enough times to make you crazy. Just going to take a peek here what he has with this Philadelphia builder, since that's my hometown. Interesting. Obviously, there's a contractor here in the Philadelphia area that just as the tough questions come, he runs into cellular coverage issues. I'm not surprised to hear that. So, all right, let's go back to the, I guess we were on the Avoid Rogue Contractors page. No, I'm sorry, we were on the customer service page. So, once again, great stuff with the customer service page. I would think to move it, but we'll get into that shortly. Now we're going to look at the paint and tools equipment page. All right, here Andy just talks about things that he's going to use to care for your home. Masking and dust sheets, keeping down the dust. All right, we've kind of reviewed that stuff, but it certainly doesn't hurt to tell people how you're going to care for their homes once again. So good stuff there. I may even think of relabeling that heading and moving it into the primary navigation, but we'll get into that in a second. All right, most popular tips. The strip wall. All right, this is where Andy gets into some tips on doing some things yourself. And I would absolutely put some contact info there for the guy who is halfway through a project and realizes he is over his head and needs some help, which Andy does. So good stuff there. Gloss paint door, which we've reviewed. Right, that's the shiniest door in the village. I love that article. Paint pine furniture. We've taken a look at that. So it's all great stuff for the DIY. Did we get to the finished? No, we didn't get to the finished. I would love, and if you got a picture of that desk, I'd love to see that desk finished. All right, which filler to use? This is all great tips for people that are getting into some of these projects around their houses on their own. And the nice part is Andy's giving the info on the smaller projects, hoping that in the end, they'll either need his assistance to complete those projects, or they'll remember him when it's time to do the bigger projects. And he does all of this in such a non-salesy way that it really is fantastic content to use as I need it, but it's also going to remind me when it comes to needing additional things outside of my scope or my ability to do, to give him a call. So let's click on the protect floors and furniture, and I guess this is what he would suggest, or what he does to protect your floors. So this is how you should protect your floors if you're going to do it as well. It says, okay, here he charges. Now it's about how he protects his floors. Okay, we reviewed that page. So on to the reference library and the articles cabinet. All right, these are articles, specific articles on the blog. All right, and just different tips and tricks and suggestions, which is great. Let's go over to the Bureau of Painting. And still waiting for the page to load. Bureau of Painting. Looks like it takes us out to other articles on equipment to use. The suggestions. Okay. Good stuff there. Department of Marketing. Always interested in seeing that one. Oh, is that going to be... Is that the finished desk? Still waiting for that picture to blow up. Ah. Alright, that's your newsletter, which looks great. Alright, back to the Bureau of Painting. And hopefully you have a newsletter set up somewhere. If you're going to submit newsletters or provide newsletters, that you would have a contact form somewhere on the site for the newsletter, and maybe talk about it a little more prominently, unless Bureau of Painting is the name of the newsletter. And if it is, then we need to address that and make that a little more okay. It looks like some of the work that you've done. Yeah, I'm a little confused as to the Bureau of Painting, what its objective is. It looks like some of it is from your newsletter, some of it is referencing articles already inside of the site. So if you could just give a brief description of what this is and what it does, it'll help people navigate through it and use the content found on it a little better. Okay, so on to the referrals tab. And the referrals tab, if you refer me to friends and it results in work, you will receive a nice gift. Let's take a look at that page. Okay, basically this is Andy's referral page. And he says 30% of his work comes from repeat work and referrals from satisfied customers. Andy, just from the information and the content I have on your site, I'm surprised that number is only 30%. I would imagine it would be 60 or 70% with the great work it looks like that you do. But here basically he goes into details on what he does to solicit referrals. And even if you're in the trades, some ideas and tips on how you can refer him work. The only issue I have with this page is there's nothing on here on how to contact you. Having a contact form, somebody could fill in a referral or fill in their information. All of this kind of goes back to tell them exactly what you want them to do at the end of the content. So here, if you're interested in earning some extra income, I can provide you with cards to hand out. The next step in the evolution of that sentence should be, so contact me here, or email me here, or friend me here and send me an email, something to get them to take an action. Because now, reading that last sentence, I'm just going to click off the page without some type of call to action here. And finally, the testimonials page. And here is a way to submit testimonials. Okay. All right, it looks like Andy is kind of creating a testimonials page from the comments section, which is okay. I would remove the trackbacks for sure. And he's got some quotes he remembers people saying on the job site. I think, Andy, you would get... I'm not sure if you ask for testimonials from people. I would imagine with the great work that you do that you probably have more. If you don't have more, I think it's because you may not be asking for them. And I think you should get into the habit of asking for them and getting them up here on the site, because I think that's what's going to tell the best story. So I'm going to talk more about testimonials in a second. Once again, the About Andy section really should be this part up there with this feeding under it, so that if they filled it out, they could see their testimonial right away. So maybe that's an idea if you want to keep the comment, if you want to keep the form, the WordPress form as your testimonial submission, that's fine. Just move it up to here and have it filled down. Have the next testimonial become the next comment on the page. But now I'm going to get into the navigation quickly and get this wrapped up for you, Andy. Some logical steps to the navigation are, I love the painted kitchens, the interior painting, the hand painted furniture. I'm not sure, again, it depends on your business model, how the interior design fits into that primary navigation, or how even the Faro and Ball falls into the primary navigation of the site. What I'd rather see up there is your customer service come up into the primary navigation, along with the paint tools and equipment, and some of the information from the Avoid Rogue Contractors come up into that, all roll under that customer service section, simply because it's all kind of rolls up into that primary topic. The other thing I would try to get, the Refurbish a Kitchen is such a great page. That's got to become part of your your unique selling proposition, is how you're the alternative to somebody refurbishing a kitchen. So we got to figure out a way to use that content a little bit better in the primary function of this site, in this navigation. And I think a great way to do that would be to take some of the content from the Refurbish a Kitchen and put it up here on the home page. Now again, I think, like I said to you, I think, wow, there's the picture of the desk completed. Does that blow up? Sorry everybody, I'm gonna kind of, it doesn't. Andy, I gotta see a picture of that. Anyway, these decorating tips on the home page, I would slide in here on these most popular tips. Get this off of here, because I would take the information from this Refurbish a Kitchen, take some of this here, take some of the information from the painted kitchens, the interior painting, the hand furniture, and get all of that on the home page of the site. Because right now, there's nothing, most of the time, the home page gets filled up with content that is company focused. In other words, it's just the company just throwing up information about themselves and talking about how great they are. Here you don't do that. You're giving decorating tips and suggestions to homeowners, which is great, but it's still not serving the primary function of your site, which is to convert readers into prospects, into leads, into clients or customers. So I think the front page needs to change around the content, and you need to decide on either you're going to use a contextual based navigation, or if you're going to use a picture based navigation, and pick one and go with that, and replace this front page with some of the great content that you have built into some of these articles and tips and suggestions and things like that on the front page. But to talk about the navigation a little bit more, like I said, I would strip out the Faro and Ball. Again, I don't know what the positioning is with the interior design, so I'm going to leave that to you. I would definitely get to Refurbishing a Kitchen, maybe Ask the Expert, Avoid Rogue Contractors, and Paint Tools up under the customer service section in the main nav. Down here, I would consolidate a lot of information under Reference Library and Tips. So I would reduce these two navs into one. And I would even maybe, you could put which filter to use, paint, pine, furniture. I would put all that under just a tips heading or tips page that they could get to once they landed on the page. I would remove these specific articles from the nav as well as these, and I would make them available on the page once they landed there, because all these are distractions. They take away from, there's great content on there, don't get me wrong, there's great content, but what it does is it takes away from the selling aspect of the site. And as far as testimonials absolutely has to come all the way up from the basement and has to get into this primary navigation here. You absolutely have to have that far above the fold. It's the last part of your site that needs to be up here as soon as possible. The referrals, I would I think there's a way. I would almost think to take this off. I'm kind of torn, because you always want to be asking for referrals, but you want to be asking for referrals while you're in person, while the people are enjoying the work that you're doing. So my question is going to be to you, and you'll know the answer to this. How many referrals have you developed from this section of your website? If it has been effective, then by all means keep it. If your referrals have primarily come from people that you see one-on-one or on the job site, then maybe you can take this off of here, as it's simply just a way of it's just a bit of a distraction to the new user who may not be interested in referrals at this point. So that's a suggestion for the referrals, but the testimonials absolutely has to get up into the main navigation section of your site. As far as the YFrog, this hasn't worked for me throughout this whole site, so I don't know if it's just me, but if it's just me, it's got to be one other person looking at your page. And like I said, I would replace it with a Flickr widget in the sidebar here once you start to consolidate some of this. And I would also take some of this useful info and throw it under the popular tips and references. Whatever you don't consolidate into the customer service and move into your nav up here, I would drop into the reference library in the most popular. And I would replace some of this with a Flickr widget, and more importantly is I would have a small contact form in the sidebar where you're simply asking for a name, address, a name, email address, maybe a phone number, and a specific comment so they can give you a question that they want to answer. So that's what I would do with this sidebar here. I would consolidate some of the content, move some of the content around, use it to your advantage to help close business for you versus people just coming here as a destination to learn how to paint their furniture. You want it to sustain your business and grow your business, and I think that's how I would do it. Finally, I'm going to address these three sections of the site. The contact form. And it's really a fantastic contact form. Can't complain about it. It's obviously a WordPress contact form. Name, email address, subject, message. You leave your phone number, your mobile, obviously the email down here. So this is a great contact form. I'm going to click into this and see where this takes me. Alright, so once again, your main contact points and your social media stuff, Twitter, your blog, which are obviously already kind of part of tied to. Again, I would take this off the social media stuff. Maybe not. You could still email this page. I would definitely take it off of this page, or maybe just have the email in print. There's no point in sharing that part of the information, but you could print it and email it to people. The About page. All great information about you. I would say the one thing that this whole site is missing is a solid picture of you. And if you have people, if that's you on the poll, then great. It's kind of a masked picture. They really don't get to see you. But I think having, if you want to personalize this a little bit more, I think having this picture doesn't blow out, having a picture of you, and whoever you happen to have, as part of your crew, would go a long way in creating another one of those citations that make people trust you versus your competitors. And then finally, I would move both of these into the primary navigation here. The sitemap, I would just move it to the bottom of the page, down here somewhere, or even down here, because you really only want the search engines to see that. People aren't typically going to use the sitemap. It's really just based for search engines. And finally, you do the one thing down here. I would put, this is a link back to your home page. Okay, so I think this is fine. You don't get too greedy with keywords in the footer of the site. I think you actually could have one more in here. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a link, but it could just be, what you do. I would go no more than 3 or 4 keywords in here. And I think that is about it. So I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you put some of the concepts to work, and I hope they work for you. Andy, thanks for giving me the opportunity to work on your site. And everybody else, I hope you learned a little bit from Andy's website. And everybody have a good day. Thanks.